Imagine you as a woman where you've got different hats. Okay. For myself, I'm wearing the hat of a wife, a mom, the hat of a doctor, the hat of a business owner, the hat of a ministry lead. And you can expressly say these are the various hats you're wearing as well. Now, I want you to recognize yourself as someone wearing different hats to the point that these hats are demanding something from you per time. Now, one mistake we usually make as women is, let me say you're working and everyone expects you to just show up for work and do the things you're supposed to do. But behind that, the woman that you are is somebody that has different responsibilities, different demands. In addition to the various acts I mentioned, you are also someone's sister, right? You're also someone's daughter. So you're also someone's friend. So these different people are demanding something from you. And at the end of the day, you find yourself giving, giving, giving. And then what about you? And at the end of the day, you realize you're probably struggling to put together everything that is going on in your life. You see yourself waking up each morning, just struggling to catch up. You're so exhausted. There's so many things on your to-do list to tick off. So in this session, I want you to start by recognizing the various hats you're wearing, no matter how significant it is. Let me say Africa's majority that are here. One thing we notice is that we are big on our faith, right? These are essential particles. And you realize that some people are taking up roles in the church or any other religion that you believe in. And you don't even realize that it is also another hat that is putting a strain on the things you're doing already. So this starts with awareness on all the things that are pulling your legs, all the things that are demanding your attention. And when you have all these responsibilities pulling on you, you start recognizing the impacts it's having on you. Kelly did justice on explaining to us how stress affects our lives, affects our physical and mental health. So I've pulled all of this from the NHS website. It's already out there. Okay. So let me give you an instance. There's a lady I saw in the clinic. That should be sometime last year. This lady called me on the phone. It was first a telephone conversation, and she was like, hello, doctor. From her record, I already knew she was Nigerian. She was like, hello, doctor. I am going through a lot of things that I don't understand what is going on with me. Now, why I mention this is because we, as ethnic minorities, we are not usually great in expressing ourselves, as in expressing our emotions or certain symptoms in the language that makes sense to the doctor. I've been trained to recognize certain symptoms. Like if you tell me you're having headache, it's very clear to me. I understand what headache is. And it means that I'm going to ask you further questions to know what type of headache it is so that I'll know how best to help you, right? But if you come to me telling me something like, I don't know how I'm feeling, in fact, I don't even understand my body, it puts me at a disadvantage because I'm trying to figure out what you're expressing. But this lady was fortunate because I was able to understand the unspoken words she was giving me over the phone. So she has told me, I don't know what's going on with my body. In fact, I'm not understanding. She kept repeating that word and listening to things like, sometimes I feel faint, sometimes I'm just that. When our symptoms get to that level, it means that something has happened. Because we come from a background where we've been trained on resilience, even without our knowledge, even without our consent. You've been trained in such a way that mentioning that you are stressed is not a red flag. It's not something that somebody will start worrying about. If instead we even make it a competition. Oh, you're stressed. My own self. If you know what I went through this past week, it's like a competition for us that we don't usually get it when somebody is talking about, I'm feeling depressed, I'm having low mood. So when you see somebody like that talking about the symptoms she's now having, it means, oh, it wasn't dictated early. And that's why I love this session, because just like Kelly mentioned, it will help you recognize early enough what is going wrong so that you start tackling it early before it gets late. Okay, so back to this lady. When I understood what she was mentioning over the phone, I had to bring her in. When she came in, we had a chat. We talked about what she was going through. She was going around and around, and I asked her one important question we usually ask. So I asked her one important question which we usually ask, which is, has there been any recent unusual stress in your life? Because yes, stress is always there. But has there been something that is more than usual? And she said, no. What about your work? No. Every question, no. Because we've been trained not to admit vulnerability, not to admit weakness like that. We are exhausted because it may come with people seeing us as the weak person, somebody that can't do things they're expected to do. We don't want to carry that tag. So this lady was not really open, but I tried to create that safe space for her to express herself. And before I know what was happening, she started shedding tears. I'm like, what's going on? She said, oh my God, my work. She talked about her workplace. She talked about the bullying she's experiencing in her workplace. She talked about the changing immigration policies. Yes, we have moved, but have you settled with everything that keeps going? Like, was it yesterday we got the news about new immigration rules? These things affect us whether we like it or not. I lead a group of people, and this is women, and we've gotten a few calls of people that are worried. Like, what is the next thing for them? What is their stance in this country? We are talking about people that moved from their comfort zone, that moved from all they've known all their lives to a new environment where their family isn't there, a new culture, new weather. And these are people that probably sold all they had to move to this place to make life better for their children, not to consider financial cost and all of that. So you can imagine the impact someone feels when you hear that your settlement in this country is queried, is highly uncertain. Of course, it will come with anxiety. Now, this woman I have seen had suffered anxiety from a rule that was changed sometime in April last year about dependence visa. And she was so worried. It affected her. That anxiety wasn't addressed. She added it to that of work-related stress. It wasn't addressed. It got to a point that she said when she's even cooking, she's feeling faint, like she gets really tired regardless of how much she sleeps. In fact, she's losing her sleep. Now, these are just the physical symptoms she is able to explain. And I'm sure that if I explored further, she would have probably mentioned other symptoms. And even as I'm talking, you could also be recognizing this in yourself. All right. I could have recognized maybe she's been having maybe abdominal discomfort that she just can't explain, this continuous headache or joints and body pains, or she could have even explained the impact on her relationship with her spouse. Because if you're in a high level of stress, the last thing on your mind is sexual interaction or sexual intercourse with your spouse, right? And if the man isn't getting what he wants, what do you think will happen? There's going to be friction in that home. We hear about people that move from one place to another and the divorce rate is high, families are scattering. These are the little things that make the huge difference in these homes. The unaddressed stress, the irritability, the moodiness, every little thing. You're so angry. Before you know it, you're shouting at your kids. You just want to be for the moms. You just want to be the calm mom. You want to be present for your children. But because you've lost that control, you're now being so reactive. Even things that doesn't demand your reaction, you're seeing them as one huge stuff that makes you flare up, saying things that you regret later or doing things that you regret later. So awareness on how stress impacts you is actually the basic step for you to heal and thrive. Because if you're not aware of this, you keep going round and round the circle. Some people are always crying. Some people resort to different things to try to cope, like alcohol, smoking, different addictions, just to help them cope. And if you're someone that already has a health issue like high blood pressure, blood sugar, managing these things, even with medication, will be a bit challenging because your body is not working in harmony to even make these drugs work effectively as they ought to. All right. So let's move from this. Now you know what stress is doing to you. What do we do? When you're stressed or overwhelmed, burnt out, what are the things you do to make you cool? Let me see your tricks. Let me see your techniques in the group in the comments. Because I believe that I'm speaking to women who are intelligent, women that already know these things, women that already know they are supposed to take a break, they are supposed to slow down, they are supposed to say no to give a boundary, say no when people are bringing things to them. So what do you do? Because you're not going to hear any strategy that you probably don't even know about. These are the days where you can even go to ChatGPT to ask, what do I do in this situation? ChatGPT will tell you things to do. But it begins with you. What do you do? Let me see in the comments. Just let me know. Anything at all. Grounding, yoga, meditation. Awesome, awesome. Taking a break, listening to music. Okay, let's proceed. Let me tell you a little bit about me. So I've been teaching about stress management since 2018. And I realized that in December, I was so overwhelmed during that season of my life. My little one was 4 months old or 3 months old. I was so overwhelmed and I knew all the right things I was supposed to do in managing the stress of parenting a newborn with postpartum recovery. But I realized that all the things I knew wasn't working. My body was craving for more. It got to the point I had to go on ChatGPT to ask, how can I be happy? It gave me lots of stuff and asked me, okay, which one can I align with so that I to explain more? I was like, I can't do any of these. I didn't have the strength to exercise. So when you find yourself at such crossroad where you're beginning to lose interest in things that usually interest you, even listening to music, I found myself changing songs to find the one that made sense. I love music, but it wasn't even working at that point. So what I'm describing is a woman that was already burnt out. When you've gotten to that point, give yourself grace. Be kind to yourself to get the appropriate help. There are so many people out there that can help you, that can speak to you, and there is also your GP. I know that you're carrying the strong woman tag where you don't want to be vulnerable to anyone. You don't want anyone to notice that you can be going through all of this. And yes, for those of us that are big on our faith, you don't want it to be seen as like, I don't trust God enough, or I can't speak up, I can't show that I have a weak moment. At what cost? And that brings me to this important question. What is your motivation? Why are you going to seek help? Because we can tell you all the things you should do, all the strategies, but it begins with you. Why do you want to thrive? Why do you want to get to the point where you are now in control? You're not being reactive. Have you realized the impact on your health? Have you realized the impact on your relationship? Probably your spouse is complaining because they can't help you. You've told them several times. I remember one training I had last year in September. By the way, I was 9 months pregnant. So I went for that training. I trained the men in that company. There has been a death incident, so they needed someone to support them mentally, especially those that witnessed the incident. And after I finished having this conversation with them, one of them took me aside and told me, please, I need you to speak to my wife. My wife needs help. So for you to get to this point where your spouse is complaining, it means you really need help. So that could be enough motivation. Now, imagine the impacts on your parenting style. What you're doing is different from what you've envisioned in your mind or what you've learned from your children. Imagine the impact on your work relationship. Imagine the impact on your productivity, your output. Imagine the impact on your own well-being. You're having low mood, you're losing interest in life. Even taking breaks is no longer enough because you take the break, you come back to the very things that burnt you out in the first place. So, what is your motivation? This is the time for you to reflect that when you get on this journey of taking charge of your stress, you are going to do it like a lifestyle, not a one-off stuff. It's going to be a lifestyle that even when the house is burning, you're having that mental clarity that, okay, panicking is not the next step. Now, what am I going to do differently? That's when a new immigration policy comes up, you're not going to join the fear mongering team to be searching the next information that will even put more fear in you. You're still going to be in control of everything that is going on in you and around you, making you still grounded to be able to do the things you want to do your job the way you want to do it, parent the way you want to do it, be there for the people you love the way you want to do it. That the external influences, external changes, this and that is not going to change who you are because you're now in control. That is where it becomes a lifestyle. And the next question is, have you got accountability? You know, one thing with strong women, we want to do so many things. So we don't like to rest. We want to do so many things at the same time. Even when somebody says rest, even while we are resting, we are thinking, what's the next step? What's this next idea? Oh, this is so good. I need to execute this idea. Before you know, you've picked up your phone. It's your break, oh. You're meant to put the phone aside, but you've picked up your phone and started researching. This is getting more interesting. Let me search. If you try to do it alone, you will encounter bumps along the way. So if you're not able to get a coach, it can be somebody, just a trusted friend. It can be your spouse. It can be your child if she's a grown-up or if he's a grown-up. To keep you in check when you're going overboard, please let them bring you back. So now the next thing is we've talked about your why. Because when you're grounded, you're able to cope with challenges and any external influence because you've had that inner harmony for yourself. So these are the kind of things that can influence how we cope. If you have the appropriate support network, like the West Lothian African Women Network, you'll be able to cope more because you have a community where, oh, there's something going on and there's someone is telling you, take a deep breath, it's going to be all right. You'll be more equipped to cope and thrive compared to when it's just you alone, all right? And then pre-existing physical and mental health difficulties will even make it worse. Age, as you're aging, you know that you're choosing your battles more wisely. You know, it's no longer just go and fight. Who is that? Why are they talking to me like that? I don't take nonsense. You don't fight over certain things. You just choose your battles wisely and you choose them in a way that will not alter your own peace of mind. Okay, I remember something that happened in my workplace. I had this lady that challenged me at work. It was so unexpected. And I realized that I struggled to focus. I was working in emergency departments and needed that mental clarity to make the right decision. I realized that I struggled to focus. I went to speak to the right people. Though this is what happened. Can you intervene? Can you speak to this lady? Everyone was like, we will talk to her later. Then another person said, let me think about how to talk to her. I'm not getting the support I needed. So what do? I needed to get this off my chest. I went to this lady. I told her, please, can I speak to you? She went to the side. And I told her, I do not appreciate how you spoke to me. My purpose, my goal was clear, to express myself clearly, which is a mistake some people make. You're going there to express yourself. Clear communication. It doesn't have to do with whether you are good in English or not. No. Communicate clearly what happened, how it made you feel, and how you prefer to be treated subsequently. Right? Because the goal is for you to feel better, to relieve yourself of that burden, so you can continue the work with more mental clarity. If not, you go home and carry that in my language, we call it osokoso. Osokoso is like you're carrying that heavy grudge and burden in your heart, and then you go home and pour it out on the innocent people around you who did nothing to you. brought that frustration on them. Why don't you address it calmly? But if you're struggling, if you know you're not able to address it the way that will give you the best outcome, please just wait. Let the right people do it. So that you don't put yourself in trouble or the situation. And for myself, yes, it worked for me that night. I felt really proud that I was able to take charge of the situation. I happily went back to work and continued seeing patients. How to cope through difficulties. Self-awareness is one important one. Of course, like Kili mentioned about the MAP strategy, monitoring your day, asking you exploratory questions, recognizing pattern strategies, and the risk strategy. These will help you to be really self-aware on what's going on, what's changing per time. Because one important thing in this journey is recognizing early what is changing, what is happening to you, so that you make a difference immediately without letting it linger. That's why when some people will leave things to linger, and then maybe somebody will not ask them, "How are you?" Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm all right." Next thing you hear is, "Do you expect me to be really okay?" But that was a harmless question. And the person that asked didn't do anything to me. It's just that you've been carrying a lot, waiting for outlet. Now, this second one is very important. Now, this second one is scheduled intermittent rest. You know, and how we schedule everything that is very important to us. And we forget to schedule our rest. We want to work back to back. We want to pick up for those in the care industry, several shifts. You want to make that money. People back home are calling you, asking you, since you've been abroad, you've not achieved anything. You've not built any house. You don't have anything to show for it. And you're like, no, I need to show them that I have arrived. And they'll remind you of how Obina has built a house, has done this one, comparing your level 1 to another person's level 4. It now puts more fire on you that you need to meet up. So at what expense? You're drowning. You're drowning. Everyone is telling you, you're trying, no. But you know that you're trying actually means you're drowning to yourself. So you don't have to prove anything to anyone for your own sake. Because when you start taking those blood pressure medications or those heart tablets, nobody's going to take it with you. You're going to take it yourself. Like you mentioned, some things are consequences of the choices we make. So we have to be aware of these things and learn how to say no. Schedule your rest as much as you can. When you find yourself overwhelmed, retreat and just focus on the things that are priority. So you can still achieve harmony. Sometimes this overwhelm can come as a result of transitions. You're transitioning to becoming a new mom, you're transitioning to becoming, you're transitioning to promotion to a higher level, a different job, new country. You know that transitions come with overwhelm. You'll find out that there is some the stability in your harmony or in the routines that you're used to. So you find yourself overwhelmed. So when you notice that, oh, these things are so much for me to handle right now, just take a retreat for the moment and try to get things into perspective to still find that harmony or routines or whatever it is you have to do to make things work. And by the way, I just returned from a 7-day social media break. That's really awesome. Mental wellness bank, your emotion. I'll talk about this mental wellness bank and conclude with it. Emotional regulation. It still boils down to self-awareness, recognizing when things are changing, when your emotions are changing, the things that are affecting the emotions, how you're responding to them. Your social network is very wonderful. Do not isolate yourself, especially in those moments when you're so overwhelmed. Your body wants you to isolate, but don't listen. Go out there. Really find things that will uplift your mood, improve your mental well-being, and give you the right support. And then embracing gratitude. It can be difficult to know the things that are working when that one thing you're chasing is not working. But if you make gratitude your lifestyle, when that one thing is not working, subconsciously, all the things working will just come and you find yourself reeling in them. Okay. And this is just something that helps you cope through the season that things don't seem to be working. It's all about things that it's just like a bank, things that are depositing the right currencies and not withdrawing. So you're going to be very intentional about this. And it's still tied to that self-awareness. You're going to be intentional in doing things that improve your entire well-being. Okay, like your sleep. That era of I don't sleep when I'm done, I sleep when I'm tired. I'm like, please, no, no, no. You have to sleep well, because if you notice, whenever you don't sleep well, that is when you're like an angry bird. Everybody is after your life, because you're starting life already feeling defeated. You're starting the day already feeling defeated. That means everything else is like they're after your life. So take control of each day by sleeping appropriately or adequately the night before. And laughter, mindful exercises, protecting your mind from the things you see, the things you listen to, the things you expose yourself to, they can have impact on how you respond. For instance, if you're in a long distance relationship and you're reading news, you're always feeding yourself with information about how people in distance relationship are always cheating on each other. How do you think you're going to respond if your spouse or your partner tells you, "Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't pick your call because I was busy"? The first instinct is going to be, "Oh, he is cheating on me. That is why he didn't pick my call." This is because of the influence from the things you've been feeding yourself with. So protecting mind, very, very important. Healthy relationships, enforcing boundaries. And I would like to look at the link that Kili shared to help me to be able to say no and stand by it, giddy, giddy, giddy. Even if they push me left, right, and center, I'll say no, no is no. If you've not laughed in this session, I don't know why you're carrying the word to your chest. Release it. Release it now and laugh. Just find a reason to laugh, okay? I know that life can be really hard. And then when you're struggling, your GP is there to help. We've got lots of resources to support you when you're struggling, okay? There are wonderful women out there who are helping women that are overwhelmed as well. There's wonderful coaches. So just find the ones that work for you. And please, what this means is just don't leave it to yourself. You don't have to try to fix everything yourself. Sometimes just give people opportunity to help you get where you want to be even faster and more efficiently. Okay? And thank you. Now that's my beautiful face when I was on low cuts and before my third baby. It's like life has hit me buzzwords. Thank you so much. I help overwhelmed, burnt out professional women get to that richer and happier life. For any of my services, coaching, or speaking opportunities, this is my contact. You can screenshot it, and thank you.
Wow, this is mind blowing. Like my note is full.